Well, welcome on in everyone to They Are Not From Philly podcast. As you can see, we're all decked out in orange this week. I'm in my Tennessee Vols baseball top that I've managed to acquire. Big J, my partner, he's got his national champions shirt on from 2024, and this is we're still obviously two Philly guys at heart, but it's just this has been a long time coming, and obviously Justin is from Tennessee. He's Mr. Vols. He's he loves his Vols, and he's converted me over the last few months this year as well. So we're not going to get into Philly this week, and as much as we'd love to talk about the Eagles' upcoming season and the seemingly near downfall of the Phillies that's incoming, we're going to park that for now because it's just too. I can't think about it. I don't want to talk about it. I'm too miserable about it. So I want to get into something that's making me happy since I've started doing this with Justin and getting to know Justin as a Vols and Tennessee and this. It's a big weekend. It's the college baseball World Series tournament starting this weekend. So some big matchups. There was a couple of games yesterday, and this weekend it's a big rivalry for the Vols. Tennessee Vols against the Arkansas Razorbacks. Arkansas, they're a fantastic team. The Vols are a fantastic team. We got some big hitters. We got some crazy, insane starting pitchers. One in particular who's just an absolute, they call him the psychopath. And when I watched the game the other day when he came out with the bullpen, he wasn't even told to go in the bullpen. He just put himself there because he was that determined to help them if it was needed. And he needed to come in and close it out. And he was chirping back and forth with the opposite team coach, and he was ready to. I think he was ready to throw the ball at the coach, not the batter. So, Mr. I think let's start there with looking back on before we get into the game tonight. Let's look back on the season for the Vols. They were national champions in 2024, and this year it's been an absolute fantastic season again. I think are they leading just in home runs? In college baseball, or are they pretty close?
I think they're top three. I don't think they're top the leaders. Three. I forgot. Yeah, I forgot who the leader was, but I think they are top three.
Yeah. From what I've seen, they're just absolute raking it all year. Yeah. They got some, and it always seems to be as well in clutch moments when they need to. All the guys sort of seem to step up, and but yeah, the guy leading the charge this year, obviously, he's probably going to be the number one overall pick in the next MLB draft. I'd be surprised if he's not top one, top three. Mr. Liam Doyle, he is an absolute. Well, yeah, he's a psychopath. He's an animal. He's a world beater. He's a lefty. I'm a lefty, so I love my left-handed pitching. But I just love watching him from what I've been able to see of him this year, and he's absolutely crazy. So just, I'll let you take the lead of this. How are you feeling about your Vols, our Vols, this season, and Mr. Liam Doyle leading the charge for this run?
Yeah, you got that right. Our Vols now. I've converted Adam. He never really had a college team over in Wales, but we've gotten to know each other quite a bit since the first pod was the Jacksonville game, or something like that. So I mean, 8 months, 9 months, whatever it's been, become real tight with Adam. We do the pod, and I've converted him. He's decided he's going to be a Tennessee fan. Love it. Yeah, we are everywhere, guys. We are everywhere. But Liam Doyle is, like you said, he is a psycho. This kid started his career out at Coastal Carolina and was going to transfer. He wanted to come to Tennessee after his freshman year. And he supposedly was trying to transfer to Tennessee. He let them know there was interest there on his part. Then there was a pitcher at Alabama that Tennessee was interested in. And he was going to come to Tennessee, so we passed on Doyle, and Doyle took the opportunity to go to Ole Miss. Well, then the pitcher from Alabama took more NIL money from LSU, went to LSU last year. And Doyle last year when we played Ole Miss, supposedly, I heard this from my friend in Knoxville who does a radio show, Tony Basilio. He was telling this. Head coach Tony Vitello, one of his friends, had told Tony Basilio that when we played Ole Miss last year, that Doyle kept after every time he'd make a good pitch or strike somebody out, he would look over into the Tennessee dugout and talk smack to Coach Vitello, saying, "Yeah, you wish you had me now. You wish you had me now." And a lot of coaches would take exception to that, but Tony Vitello loves that stuff. He saw the fire and the competitive spirit in Liam Doyle, and he literally told his guy. He said, "I want this guy here next year. I want this guy pitching for us next year. I made a mistake. We should have got. He should be on the team this year." And they went after him. He wanted to leave Ole Miss. We got a package deal with Liam Doyle and Andrew Fisher, and without those two guys, we would not be where we are today in the Super Regionals, fixing to play Arkansas. Like you said, Liam Doyle is an absolute madman. Kid's got a crazy fastball. He's hit 100 a few times this year, but it usually rides about 98, 99.
Mm.
I mean, he doesn't seem like a very big guy, but damn, when he throws, man, he's using every ounce of his body to throw the freaking ball. He likes to talk smack, and I'll be honest, like I don't know how many people out there watch college baseball. I didn't really start watching it until 2020, probably. I mean, I would watch it here and there, and I would always tune in kind of for the College World Series and stuff. But Tennessee baseball, I mean, we've had, I think Todd Helton's probably the biggest Tennessee baseball player we've ever had. Just went into the Hall of Fame last year.
Wow.
But it's never really been, you know, nothing like football or
Mm.
basketball. It's always been like not even a secondary sport at Tennessee. Lady Vol basketball was always ahead of Tennessee baseball, and Lady Vol softball was always probably more successful than Tennessee baseball. But since Tony Vitello has come onto the scene, like not only has Tennessee baseball exploded, but college baseball has exploded.
Yeah.
And these kids, they show their emotion a lot, and I love it. Like they talk smack to one another, as you've seen it with Liam Doyle when the hitting coach came and called timeout, and Doyle was standing there, and he started walking around the mound, and he was just trying to stay fired up, and he just looked at the hitter, and he's like, "You're effed now.
Yeah.
Now you're screwed. You
Yeah.
you pissed me off." And the infield's trying to come in and talk to him, and he looks, he's like, "Stay
Yeah.
out." And then it shows Vitello, and he's pointing. He's psycho, and that's where it came from.
Yeah.
But this kid is phenomenal. But his worst game he had this year probably was at Arkansas.
Mm.
When we had our series at Arkansas, normally series for the most part in college baseball are Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Conference series. Sometimes they'll start on Thursday, go from Thursday to Sunday or Saturday. But
Mm.
that's what it was this time. It was Thursday, Friday, Saturday when Tennessee played Arkansas first time this year. And Marcus Phillips, who's usually our day two starter, started that first game and had one of his better games. Tennessee won that game. And
Mm.
we were like, heck yeah, we're going to Arkansas and winning a series because they're not beating Liam Doyle. They got to Doyle. It was probably one of his worst games, like I said. But this kid, what he showed last week in the regionals, and like I said, I know because I've sent you all the videos and every little quote tweet and all this stuff that I could find, trying to keep you as updated as I can. But like he basically told Vitello after we lost that game Sunday to Wake Forest, I'm pitching tomorrow. Whether you like it, I'm pitching tomorrow. And it showed pregame. It showed him sitting in the dugout, and the commentators were like, "Well, this kid's probably gonna wind up in the bullpen sometime today. He's got his spikes on. He's looking kind of irritated and agitated, like he's going to pitch, and he's got that look about him." And then next thing at one point in time during the game, we didn't see it, but he's in the bullpen.
Yeah.
And supposedly, as the story goes, he didn't tell Vitello, "Hey," or he didn't ask him, "Hey, can I go to the pen?" He told Coach Vitello, "Hey, I'm going to the pen, and I ain't going out there to chill and relax. I'm going out there to get
Yeah.
loose. So you better get ready to use me." And that's what they did, man. Like supposedly, I mean, I would have given anything to have been there. And if the dadgum game would have started at 7 o'clock, I'd have probably went. But it started at 6. I don't get off work till 5:30. It's an hour for me to get to Knoxville. But anyway, if if I'd have given anything to have been there, but from everything I've heard from anybody I know that was there, and even Tony Vitello said this, when that kid came out of the bullpen to enter the game, that is one of the loudest scenes that they've heard that stadium have. And there's been quite a few since the Vitello era began.
Yeah,
Uh, so in the walkout song, like this kid never comes out of the bullpen, so he doesn't really have an entrance song. But you said it yourself, skipping off to Boston,
yeah,
coming out of the pen for that kid. It was perfect. Like I sent that to you, and you was like, "Oh my God, this is the most perfect
yeah,
bullpen song he could have had," and it was just. You knew it was over when this kid came into the game. I'm
yeah,
like, okay, it's done.
yeah,
There were literal. I have friends that were there. Said Wake Forest people when this kid came out and struck out the first batter. Wake Forest fans started getting up and leaving because they knew it was over. They
mm,
had 2 innings to go, and they were like, "No, it's over. We're done. We're not beating this kid."
yeah. And like, he was on 2 days rest as well. And,
Yeah,
he came out and he was throwing, above like 95, something like that. And it was just
he,
like, it was just insane, like 2 days rest. Now, I have seen, some people around think that, that might have been a mistake. And, you know what I mean? Because he obviously wanted to do it, but
yeah,
people I've seen people on Twitter sort of say, well, are they using him too much now by putting him in situations like that, and is it going to backfire down the stretch, or is it, you know what I mean? But you don't know. But at the end of the day, he's willing to go out there and give everything he's got for his team, for his guys, for the clubhouse, and for Tony Vitalo. You know what I mean?
yeah.
And you could just see the passion and the dedication in his eyes. Like like when you sent me that clip and I watched that and shipping up to Boston, it's always been one of them songs that you see fighters walk out to in
Yep.
UFC and things like that, and it is a get up song. You know what I mean? But I it was just an insane moment, and it is going to go down in the history books as like an all time college baseball moment. Like,
Yeah.
so, yeah, and so obviously the series starts tonight against the Arkansas Razorbacks. They're a good team. They got some really good standout players that are, a few of them are like first selection All SEC team. So, you know, I was looking today, and the overall record for the Razorbacks lead the overall record against the Vols 44 to
Yeah.
29. In Knoxville, it's even. It's 15-15. And then in neutral grounds, it's Arkansas lead 4-1, and Arkansas are the number 3 overall seed. So this is a big challenge for the Vols. But obviously the Vols know them very well, obviously because of that record. They've played them this year. Marcus Phillips is starting on the mound tonight. I've from the highlights and the videos I've been able to watch this year of Marcus Phillips, I've really, really taken a liking to this guy, and I think he's a really good pitcher. He's got some good stuff behind him. So how do you think that he, obviously, like you just mentioned, when he started against Arkansas earlier in the year, it was one of his best games. So how do you think he's going to feel, taking the mound for the first game in this big series now to move on to the next round? So how do you think he's going to fare? And I don't sort of, I'm not up on the pitching rotation, so you'll have to sort of let me know
Yeah.
who is gonna come in after Marcus Phillips for the next game. Are we going to see Liam Doyle in game 2 or game 3? I mean, I'd be shocked if he's not out there. You know what I mean? He's got to be, surely. So, but first, how do you think Marcus Phillips is going to do tonight now, taking game 1 on the mound?
Okay. So first, like I said, in our series earlier this year with Arkansas, Marcus got the one win in that series. And it was, like I said, instead of a Friday, Saturday, Sunday series, it was a Thursday, Friday, Saturday series. Marcus is usually the Saturday guy. Liam Doyle is usually the Friday guy. But
Okay.
the way it fell, it kind of worked out all right. And they used Marcus on Thursday night, and then they went Doyle Friday night, so they could keep Doyle on his regular rest. And Marcus pitched really well against Arkansas. The one big bugaboo for Marcus this year has been his inability to hold runners. Like it's
Mm.
almost like a running it excuse me, it was almost like a running joke. If someone got a base hit, then you might as well point at him and tell him to go on the second, because he does that high leg kick, long delivery. He just wasn't working at holding runners on base. Like they would, the steal rate for him was insane. I don't have the numbers or anything like that in front of me. If somebody got a double, you should have just called time and pointed them to third, because they were taking
Mm.
it within the first 2 or 3 pitches. He just
Oh
had,
man.
I don't know if he didn't care, but with pitching coach Frank Anderson, that's really something that teams have done, because it's almost like it's not something that he really tries to coach his guys to do. He doesn't coach them that hard to hold runners. Uh, but he had an issue. I think it was against Kentucky. Kentucky ran wild on the kid. I think they had 7, 8 stolen bases, and then we lost that series at home. We never lose to Kentucky at home in series. They've got a couple from us in the last few years up in Lexington, but at home, we rule Kentucky, but not this year. They took the series this year, 2 out of 3. And Tony Vitello said, "Look, if he can't learn to start holding runners on, then he's just not going to pitch." I mean,
Mm.
it is what it is. And then after that, I guess he started working on it. He showed more concern with it, and you saw last week he picked a guy off from Cincinnati. Yeah, the guy Cincinnati, man. I hadn't watched him play all year. I didn't know a whole lot about him until last week. Started reading up on him. They led the country in stolen bases this year.
Oh.
And they jump around and stuff. And like once the guy gets a bit of a secondary lead, he starts hopping. And Phillips just kind of caught him mid hop and fired it to first. And he was out by a mile, dude. And it got that crowd and that team so fired up. Hell, it got me fired up, because I mean, I've been hard on the kid for letting runners just go wild on the bases. But Marcus has really done well ever since Coach Vitello made that comment, like, hey, if you're not going to try any better than that to hold runners on, then we're just not going to pitch you anymore. And Marcus, I guess, took that to heart, and that's something Coach Vitello never. I think that's the first time since, like I said, I've been following them since 2020, for like really close. I kind of followed it, but not just.
Mm.
I I'm not gonna lie. I got on the bandwagon in 2020 with baseball, just like my buddy down here in Knoxville, Tony Basilio. He called it, just a, throwaway sport. He'd watch it here and there, but nothing. But like, people in Knoxville are just psychos for baseball now. As far as the rotation, okay, normally, like I said, if it's a Friday, Saturday, Sunday game, Friday night's usually Liam Doyle. He's your number one guy, hands down, no matter what. Then Saturday's Marcus Phillips. Sunday, it's kind of almost like a bullpen type game. They have a guy, if they can get 3, 4 innings out of,
Yeah.
they can, or they'll go, let him go as long as he can. AJ Russell last year was supposed to be one of our main guys, and he wound up having to have Tommy John last year. He didn't have the full blown Tommy John, but it was like the Tommy John. It's called a brace, where they attach something to the ligament now.
Mm.
And he started throwing actually earlier than projected this year. They pitched him a couple of games here and there, not letting him full on start. But here recently, they've been bringing him out of the pen more, and now they're piggybacking him with Marcus Phillips. It seems like if they can get 5 out of Phillips, then they'll go to AJ Russell for 2, 3, whatever innings. So I would look, if Phillips is pitching well and it's a close game, we're not boat racing them, they're not boat racing us. If it's a tight, 3-2 game, whatever, and Phillips, you get 5 innings out of him, I'd look for AJ Russell first out of the pen tonight.
Mm.
Because I think Tony's going to do whatever he has to do to get that game one win, because game 2 tomorrow is when Doyle pitches. The thing you were talking about, you weren't sure if he would throw. I didn't know this until Monday. I was listening to my guy Tony Basilio, and he had a former player on that knows the inside and outs of it. So Monday was going to be a bullpen day for Liam Doyle anyway. So he did nothing in that game he wouldn't have done it at practice that day.
Yeah.
That's, he pitched on Friday, and then Monday would have been a bullpen day for him, and he would have thrown probably 30 to 40 pitches. So they said, anything he did Monday night, he was going to do that day anyway, regardless. And that's so they held Doyle off from today so he could go tomorrow, just to give him another little bit of extra rest. And I mean, hopefully it works out because man, Arkansas, they're a great team. I kind of going into the whole thing, I kind of thought Arkansas was probably the team to beat. I really did. They've never won a College World Series. They were one out away a few years ago. They were playing Oregon State, and a guy dropped a foul ball, and then Oregon State winds up coming back to win. They had two outs. Guy from Arkansas drops a foul ball, and Oregon State gets new life. They come back to win. And not sure if you knew this, but Tony Vitello coached at Arkansas. He
Oh,
was
okay.
he was he was he was the top assistant to Arkansas's head coach. So, and then a few years ago, Tony Vitello and Arkansas head coach Dave Van Horn kind of got into a little back and forth on the field. I can't remember if it was at Arkansas or at Tennessee. They were kind of
Mm.
jawing back and forth at one another. And Arkansas has this thing. They call themselves the Omahogs instead of
Yeah.
Omaha. It's Omahogs. But funny thing is they've never won in Omaha. They've never won it all, and we won it all last year.
Yeah.
And Arkansas fans hate the fact that Tony Vitello got a College World Series before Dave Van Horn. And I kind of look at it like kind of the same, but they weren't bickering at one another, but like Doug Peterson got a Super Bowl before Andy Reid,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
he came up under Andy Reid. He played for Andy Reid,
Yeah.
and it's so daggone. Man, it's fun. If people out there that watch and listen to us, if you've not watched college baseball, man, it's so damn fun. Like I know a lot of people, a lot of baseball purists don't like the fact that these kids talk a lot of trash to one another and they showboat, they do huge bat flips and all that stuff.
Yeah.
But man, when I tell you those crowds get insane at how crazy they get, dude.
Yeah.
Like okay, you were talking about Doyle when he came out of the bullpen Monday night, and how that's going to be a moment for college baseball and all that. Dude, there were two moments in that game. Two, because from Sunday's game, the crowd was kind of lackadaisical from everything that I'd heard. And then you had first baseman Andrew Fisher, leader, like he came to Tennessee from Ole Miss with Liam Doyle. They were
Yeah.
roommates at Ole Miss. Okay. So he kind of calls out the fans. And we've heard this a lot from Tennessee because they're doing so many renovations at Lindsey Nelson Stadium. Okay. And I'm sorry if I'm getting long winded, but I can't help it. I get excited when I talk about my Vols.
No, this is Vols week. We've been waiting a long time to do this. So you get everything out you want to get out, just
Okay, so they're doing a ton. Like even before we won the College World Series, there was a deal made to renovate Lindsey Nelson Stadium. We
okay.
were dead last in facilities as far as SEC baseball teams. Like if you came to our facility, but I take that back. We were next to last. Missouri probably had the worst baseball facility, and then it was Tennessee. Okay.
Mm.
Tony Vitello comes along, changes the scene, gets me into college baseball, gets all these people into college baseball. They start winning. They start getting to the regionals and super regionals, and then they get to Omaha and all this stuff. And so they start doing renovations to Lindsey Nelson. Okay. Well, they have a student section at Lindsey Nelson. It's called the Legends of Lindsey, and they're usually right near the Tennessee dugout. Kind of, it was right behind it somewhat. But now that they've done all these renovations and they have all this money spent on trying to get better facilities and better seating and stuff, they've taken the student section and moved them all the way out into right field, where they're not even a part of the game. And a
Oh
lot of
man.
people are pissed about it, and the students are rightfully so because it's just the scene isn't the same, and they've taken all these people who have the money, these donors, a lot of us around here call them the cheese and wine crowd. They've come down to the lower section, and they don't
Mm.
stand up and holler and cheer and raise hell like
Yeah.
us just
Yeah. The too
regular
reserved
people
and
do.
yeah.
Yeah, they sit there and something good happens, they'll clap, but they don't get up and they don't cheer and
Yeah.
scream and all that shit.
Oh,
And
man.
it's so aggravating. But anyway, back to Andrew Fisher. He said, we're going to need the crowd tomorrow night.
Yeah.
When
I
I
see
was
that.
here on visit last year, it was one of the greatest atmospheres I've ever seen in college baseball. That's what we need tomorrow night. So we retake the lead with a 3-run homer by true freshman third baseman Manny Marin. who hadn't hit a home run since March.
Yeah.
Okay, and this kid smokes one opposite way, 3-run homer. Okay, then up next, another transfer from Louisville, Gavin Keelan absolutely smokes one in center field, 1-out single. Andrew Fisher comes up, the Ole Miss transfer, led the team in home runs this year. I'm not sure where he was nationally in home runs. I know he was top 5, but anyway, they call timeout. They're talking to the pitcher. Fisher is standing near the batter's box in like the on deck circle, looking around the crowd, telling everybody to get up, get fired up.
Yeah. I
And
seen that.
dude, he gets into the box. He's staring a hole through that pitcher. He takes ball 1. The next pitch, dude, when that sumbitch swung, I thought he was coming out of his cleats. He missed it though. He swung under it. He
Yeah.
just missed it. And they were like, my God, this kid's trying to kill it. Okay. Next pitch, he fouls it off. It's a 1-2 count. I have never seen it. It's as close to Babe Ruth calling his shot that I will ever see, because this kid, like, he was just standing there and he didn't even get all of it out, and he hits it out. That place went absolute berserk. I was jumping up and down. The dog was barking. Owen was barking. We were going nuts, dude. It was so awesome. It was
Yeah.
literally like I'm calling my shot. It's going out there,
Yeah.
and he did it. God, it was such an amazing moment. Like I've watched every angle, every video. I've sent you everything that.
Yeah.
Oh,
I,
God.
I can't keep up with everything you said to me. It's like every second I try to look, and then the baby distracts me or something, and I'm chasing Eddie around the house, and then I'm like, oh, and then I completely forget. So yeah, it takes me a while sometimes to sort of like get back and watch the clips. But there was another big moment. Was it on Monday night in the Wake Forest game, their manager. He was chirping at one of our
he
he
it
called
was
him
it
he called him a faggot, and he said,
yeah
and
it was
so that was
it
obviously
was
not
during that it was during that at bat. Fisher, when Fisher was hopping up the crowd trying to get everybody going. I couldn't tell if he
oh
was looking at.
that was Fisher. It was
That
Fisher.
was
He was doing that.
Fisher. That
I
was
thought it was
that
another
at bat.
player that he did
He
that to.
he 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 dropped the no word,
Yeah,
and a lot of people have really been upset. And the Wake Forest issued an apology and the statement and all that. I
yeah,
I you know it. I'm not saying it's a good word to say, but I mean it. Yeah, it's stuff. There's stuff that gets said on football fields, baseball fields, basketball courts, and the
yeah,
thing about it is, you just got to realize cameras are everywhere now, man. I mean,
yeah.
I'm not going to crucify the guy for it. I mean, it's words to me, you know.
Mm,
But he that was part of the moment. Like their coach just looking at him like you.
yeah.
It was so
Trying
awesome.
sort of trying like something, I suppose, to rattle him, I guess, and what have you. But yeah, you got to realize, there's cameras everywhere. You're coaching at, like, the highest level in college, baseball, and there's obviously there's things you can't say. But then, there's two sides of it, because it sort of, it comes with the territory. It your tempers get flared.
Yeah,
It's a big moment in the game. He lost control for that. That few seconds. By chirping at him like that, and obviously, yeah, obviously looking back, he shouldn't have said it, but it comes with the territory. It's things get said in sports that are
yeah,
terrible all the time. It's the same over here in the UK. Like in the UK, in with like football, soccer, we've got the FIFA, who are like the governing body of
yeah,
soccer worldwide. They've been trying since I've been on this earth, for 34 years. They've been trying to like outlaw racism in football, because it's gone absolutely terrible, and you know what I mean. It's so bad to the point where fans of even like the home team are like being racist to their own players, which is
oh
which
wow,
is which is like awful, and they're trying to like. You're never going to end racism. Yeah, unfortunately, it's just it's there, and it's just something that you know what I mean? No matter what generation comes along, you know what I mean? I just think racism is always going to be there, unfortunately, in sports, in real
Yeah.
life. And, you know, it'd be great if obviously one day it's gone and what have you. But it's just, yeah, that's a problem we deal with in sport over here in the UK is racism. And it's, you know, there's loads of issues. But, you know, it's just a shame that, you know, you can't just like, you know, be sports and be competitive, and you've got to take it to that level. You know what I mean? When you lose control and you know you say things you shouldn't, but there we go. And but you know, he said it, and karma came back to bite them in the ass, because then Fisher hit the home run, and then you know, and then what happens? You know, Liam Doyle comes out with the flaming ball pen to finish them
Yep.
off. So it was like karma came around and killed them. Like, so yeah, that's what you
So
get, I guess.
so like even at the end of the game after it was over, I guess after the obviously the kids ran out in together, you know, kind of a dog pile thing. They celebrated. The
Yeah.
coaches, they will go across the field, shake hands with other coaches, but something happened, and it showed Tony Vitello walking toward our pitching coach Frank Anderson,
Mm.
and I don't know if they didn't shake hands or if something was said during the handshake, but Vitello kind of looks at Frank Anderson, and then he looks over and he's like, "F those guys, man." So I don't know what happened. That was even caught, dude. So I
Wow.
mean, you just have to be cognizant of the fact that there are cameras everywhere. You and
Mm.
I have phones that are cameras. Like we
Mm.
basically hold computers in our hands
Yeah.
every day.
Yeah.
So I mean that's just something people but it I mean it is what it is. I mean it him looking over there F those guys. I'm telling you man, college baseball is so much fun. And my guy in Knoxville, I keep referencing him, Tony Basilio. He's 50 something now. I'm not exactly sure. I don't want to age him, go too old or anything. I'd rather go much younger. So we'll say like 50, 51. But he's actually from Philadelphia. Okay. He grew up, lived in Philadelphia. He went to games at the Vet and
Wow, I didn't
everything.
know that.
He
Wow.
yes, sir. He went to college at Penn State for 1 year, I believe. Then he transferred to Tennessee. I never have asked him what got him to transfer to Tennessee. I've not gotten that deep with him, but that's where he met his wife. His wife's from Chattanooga, but
Mm.
he wound up, making a home here, doing sports radio. Awesome, awesome dude. But like when he talks about like how college baseball is, he said, "Man, these kids do things. If you would have done it 10, 15 years ago in Major League Baseball, next time you got up to bat, you'd be wearing it in the ear. Like these guys, they will pimp home runs. They flip the bat as high as they
Yeah.
can. They talk so much shit. Like Liam Doyle, after he struck that guy out, after he told him you're screwed, not screwed, but
Mm.
basically, he was pointing at him, coming off the mound and screaming. He ran into the daggone
Yeah. It was
dugout,
it
and
was it was crazy because he just ran. He was just like, I've gone out there, I've done my business, and now I'm off. And he just like ran
yeah,
into the wall. I was like, what's he doing? He should be like,
the,
going crazy. I mean, he did go crazy a little bit, but he just went down the tunnel. I was like,
yep.
that's a bit strange, but yeah,
These It's
the
it's so much fun, man.
yeah,
The game's growing, dude. It
yeah,
is. It's really growing.
yeah.
They do a thing. So do you watch the NCAA basketball tournament?
Yeah, that's the thing. Like over here, the sports channels in the UK, they show like nearly every NCAA basketball game. So I
Okay.
can I can watch games through the season when they come on when I got time. And obviously, I tend to mostly lock in like during March Madness.
Yeah.
Because that's when it
Okay.
starts getting really exciting towards the end. So I watch a lot of March Madness really. And but then they don't show baseball over here. So I'm hoping, because obviously, like you said, the game is growing now. It's getting bigger and bigger every season, and
Yeah.
so I'm hoping in the UK soon that they pick up NCAA baseball as well, because they got basketball full time over here. So I'm just hoping, and football now. We've got college football
Yeah.
as well. So hopefully we'll get college baseball soon.
So like on the NCAA tournament, like I have YouTube TV. That's my streamer that I use.
Right.
So you can watch 4 games at once. There's like these 4 boxes,
Yeah, yeah.
and you can use the remote and switch it to this one, and you have the sound for this one, and then you switch it to this one and have the sound for that one. Well, there's kind of a similar thing with ESPN. It's called ESPN Squeeze Play, especially during the regional part of like last weekend's of the
Mm.
baseball tournament. they'll have 4 games going on at once, but there's people in studio and you can't switch to commentary. They'll be like talking about this game up in this box for a little
Yeah.
bit while this one's at commercial and this one's kind of at a lull. Then they'll kind of talk about this one. Then they'll kind of, if something's going on, like there's 2 on and 2 out on this game, they'll just be quiet and then they'll switch to the TV broadcast, and it's called squeeze play. Uh, and former Tennessee Vol, huge college baseball guy. He's like helped build the sport. Chris Burke. He was a first round pick of the Houston Astros.
Okay.
Played in the MLB for a little while. He was a phenomenal college baseball player. But he's kind of the ambassador for college baseball. Like I think he kind of runs the show or helps run the show at ESPN. But he's going to be on the call today for the Tennessee Arkansas game, and
Oh, nice.
A lot of Tennessee fans on Twitter, they get in his ass because he calls it right down the middle, man. He's a Tennessee guy through and through. He went to school
Mm.
there. He loves Tennessee. He comes back like for football games and all this shit. But like when he's calling a Tennessee game, if it's Tennessee Arkansas or Tennessee Vanderbilt or whomever, like he'll call Tennessee out if they're doing stupid shit.
Yeah.
Or if Tony Vitello has a questionable coaching decision or something. He's not literally there praising Tennessee and dogging Arkansas or whatever.
Mm.
He's doing his job. He's a commentator. He has
Yeah.
to show no bias. But
Yeah.
they were talking to his, the guy who does the games with him. He says, "Look, man, I'm sitting there beside him." He said, "He can turn his mic off. You have no idea like what he's going through watching, commentating a Tennessee game.
Oh,
It
yeah.
is tough for him. It's not like, okay, with the Phillies broadcast, you've got John Crook. Crook's pulling for the Phils. He's
Yeah.
not there's no other thing about it. Chris Burke, on the other hand, he works for ESPN. He has to be down the middle with his calls. He cannot be
Yeah.
biased toward Tennessee. But a lot of Tennessee fans get on Twitter and give him shit and stuff like that. And he kind of takes it all in stride and laughs at it when he gets on the Basilio show and talks to him. But yeah, man. As far as what you were talking about with Marcus Phillips, I think the kid is probably going to be a second round pick in this upcoming draft.
Yeah.
I would be shocked if he slides to the third
Mm.
because he's got a great arm. Uh, but going back to Liam Doyle, yeah, Liam Doyle's going to be a top 3 pick.
Oh,
There's some high school kid they keep saying is probably going to be number 1 overall, and these teams they like taking the high school kids because they like developing them their own way from the jump. They don't want them going to college. And if you're that good, man, if you're going to be the number 1 overall pick, I know you have NIL in college now, but it's totally different from baseball and football. Okay, football is the king. All right,
mm.
it's
Yeah.
that way in the NFL, in major sports. It's that way in college. Okay, and then you have basketball in college. It's number 2. And then there's baseball. Like baseball players, they get out NIL money and they can sign deals with local shops, like local restaurants, or like where I bought this hat, Alumni Hall. Yeah, it's volunteer traditions. Another
Nice.
great Tennessee baseball player, Hunter Ensley, who gave his all for Tennessee in the College World Series last year, running into and almost through that wall. He left his eye black on the wall in Omaha. He ran
Oh,
into it
wow.
so hard and he caught the damn thing. If you get a chance at him, look it up.
Yeah, I'll
Hunter
have to go back
Ensley
and look at that.
catch. I'll send it to you. Trust me.
Okay, yeah, send it. Yeah,
But
send it to me.
he's the starting center fielder. He's a 5th-year senior. But he's got an NIL deal with Volunteer Traditions, and like just like a local like heating and air company and a fence company. They can get stuff like that. So that's where a
Yeah.
lot of your baseball players get their money, where football players don't have to. They get $1 million contracts, the football
Yeah.
players and basketball players. Baseball players, they might get 20, 30,000, and that's a lot, but
Oh, yeah. Yeah. God.
it's not millions.
Mm.
So if you're coming out of high school, like my nephew, okay, he was drafted in the 3rd round by the Dodgers. He he had a huge scholarship offer to go to Virginia Tech, and he really didn't want he didn't want to go to school. I can't say I blame him. I wasn't a big school guy, never really
Yeah.
liked school.
Same.
But
Yeah.
if you're the number 1 overall pick, yeah, pretty much you're going to forego college. But yeah, Liam Doyle's probably a top 3 pick. Uh, Another guy for Tennessee who's probably going to be a first round pick in the draft is shortstop Gavin Keelan.
Yeah.
I told you he's the transfer from Louisville. He missed a few weeks this year with a hamstring injury, and if he hadn't had that, and it's still bothered him all year. I don't know. Like, well, I mean, you with soccer, soccer players, they have a hamstring injury. You're running around all that. It's kind of debilitating for a while. It's
Oh
hard to get
yeah.
a hamstring right. Same with football. But he's came back, and he's probably going to be a late first round pick. He's a huge leader on this team, and that's the thing. That this guy's first year with Tennessee. Same with Liam Doyle, and same with Andrew Fisher. Gavin Keelan came from Louisville. Fisher and Doyle came from Ole Miss. But those guys are Tennessee guys now. Like, you can see it in their eyes. You can see
Oh
them.
yeah.
They wish they could have came to Tennessee for their entire career.
Yeah.
And he's going to be a first round pick. Another guy who had prospects of being a first rounder, but has probably hurt himself this year, is Dean Curley. Dean Curley was the starting shortstop last year for the World Series team. And then we get Keelan this year, and there was talk, okay, we're going to move Curley to first. Andrew Fisher was supposed to be, not to first, I'm sorry, to second. Andrew Fisher was supposed to be the starting third baseman, and there was another guy going to be the first baseman. Well, Fisher hurt his shoulder in practice, so he's been unable to throw. So he couldn't throw from third to first. So they moved
Mm,
Curley to third. And then when Keelan gets hurt, they move him to short. And Curly's probably hurt his draft stock because he's done everything for the team, because he's moved around so much. He's not been able to concentrate on just second or third or short. And everything, like a lot of my friends will say, he probably projects to be a left fielder in the pros. But this kid was a freshman All-American at Tennessee last year.
mm,
Starter for the College World Series winning team. He could be a late first round pick. He could be an early second, though. But this team is loaded. Like, to go back to the super regionals of the college baseball tournament 5 years in a row, it's never been done.
yeah.
Tennessee done it. They replaced every starting player in the field except for 2 last year, and that's Curley and that's center fielder Hunter Ensley. They got a new right fielder, new left fielder, first, second, or first, short, whatever, new catcher. Everybody's new. So I mean, it's a real accomplishment just to make it this far. But I don't want to just make it this far. I want to go back. I want back to back. I want to
Back to
repeat.
back.
It's on my Vols, not
Oh
on
my
my Hogs.
balls.
It's on my Vols. Real quick too, something else about Marcus Phillips. Another reason why he's starting today, I believe. I
Mm,
like I said, I talk over myself and I forget points I want to make. But our starting catcher, Cannon Peebles, got ejected in that game Monday night.
mm.
In the 8th inning, the daggone umpire had friggin' little rabbit ears listening to everything, and there was jawing back and forth all night between the players, coaches, and everything. And I think somebody said there was a warning issued. So late in the game, I think it was 8th inning, like I said, Cannon People strikes out, and he had a really good weekend, but Monday night he was over. I think he was 0 for 3, 0 for 4, looked bad.
Mm.
And their catcher says something to him, talking shit to him. And he turns, and he's not saying it to the umpire. You can see it. And he turns, and he's like, F you, Umpire throws him out. So when you're in the tournament, if you get ejected, you have to miss the next game.
Oh,
Peebles, the only person to catch Doyle all year is Peebles. So that's another reason why I think they're starting Phillips tonight, because the backup catcher, Stone Lawless, has caught Marcus Phillips several times this year just to give Peebles a break, you
yeah.
know. So
Yeah.
that's another reason why Phillips is starting tonight.
Yeah.
Sorry, I forgot that earlier. It's just
No, no, and like you said, it'd be good for Liam Doyle, I suppose, to have this, like, a little bit of extra rest now. Obviously, then he can work with Stone Lawless as well, and obviously the pitching staff are more, because they're obviously, they're aware now of the suspension. So, I mean, you've got to get Liam Doyle's going to want to be, I mean, whatever catcher Liam Doyle has got to go with when on his start, I don't think it's going to make a difference, because he's going to be like a rabid animal anyway. He's just going to be, you know what I mean, just want to strike everyone out as much as he possibly can. He's going to be throwing his best pitch as much as he possibly can. So I don't think it matters. But yeah, if you can get that bit of preparation in, one day here or there to get that extra time, then it's, you've got to get it in, because it's an important series. It's a massive, massive series for the Vols. Like, it's,
it is.
even though the Vols are like the they're the reigning defending champions. Like I said earlier, you look at the overall record, the Razorbacks have got it up on the Vols.
Yep.
So the Vols, maybe nationally, I don't know what they might be looked at as the underdogs going into this series. You know what I mean?
They are.
And but you know what I mean? It's good to be an underdog because it means, you know what I mean, even though they're the defending champions, the Vols are going to be probably more hungry than Arkansas for this series. Even though Arkansas have never had a national championship, I think the Vols are going to be more up for this series because it's a case of wanting to beat, one of your biggest rivals on a big stage again. You know what I mean? So that it's going to be insane. And I'm hoping some shape or form. I'm going to have to work out the time difference. I think it's probably going to be on too late for me in the UK.
Yeah.
But sometimes on YouTube, someone will be streaming it on YouTube, the games and stuff, and I've been able to catch the start of some of the games here and there. So I'm hoping that I can find something on YouTube either late tonight or early tomorrow morning to try and get as much of the game as I can.
So you're 5 hours.
Yeah.
5 hour time difference. Okay, so it starts at 5 o'clock here today, so it'll be 10 o'clock there tonight. Tomorrow, when your boy, the psycho, Liam Doyle, takes the mound, it's at 3 o'clock, so it'll be 8 o'clock tomorrow night.
Oh,
so hopefully,
nice.
You get to see us just end them tomorrow night. It only hopefully goes 2 games. We win today, then tomorrow, and you get to watch it tomorrow. Because, like I said, I totally understand. Like I said, I told you earlier before we got on, me and my son Owen went to the movies last night. Went to a late show, and it was 12:30 before I got home. And I have a routine when I go to bed. I can't just lay down and go to sleep. So I turn the TV on and I'll watch TV and kind of start chilling. And there was another game from yesterday. Super's still playing because they had a rain delay. It was Auburn and Coastal Carolina, and they were still playing. I was laying there watching. Coastal had a 6-2, 6-3 lead in the 6th or 7th. Auburn comes back and ties it, and I was fighting it then. I'm like, yeah, I got to turn it off. So I turn it off, and I get up, and 2:05 in the morning, it was the 10th inning, I reckon, and Coastal hit a home run to take the lead. And I never really did see if they won or not because we were fixing to jump on here. But yeah, it was 2:05 in the morning. I told my wife, I was like, damn, I'm glad I didn't try to stay up and watch that.
Yeah. Oh man, it is tough sometimes. Like during football season, and if there's a reasonable time the Eagles on, or if it's a big game, obviously like the Super Bowl and the opening game against the Cowboys this season, I'll be up watching it live. You know what I mean? Because you just can't miss those moments. You know what I mean? And so we while we got a little bit of time left, let's shift quickly to obviously the state of the college football side of the Volunteers. So obviously the starting quarterback Nico, he's it's sort of like a trade, I suppose. Nico and Joey Joey Aguilar have sort of like traded places with each other, and they've gone to each other's team. Nico's gone to UCLA, so I've been looking up the stats of both these guys. In a sec, obviously, I'll ask you how you feel about Nico overall with his time in Tennessee. There's not much of a difference in their stats to be honest. The completion percentage is 63.8 for Nico. Joey is 55.9. The passing attempts is there's not much difference, 334 to 390. The touchdowns are pretty close, 19 to 23. Interceptions, Nico's got less interceptions than Joey. Sacks, Nico took more sacks than Joey Aguilar did last season, and there's not much overall difference. So how do you feel just about the football team going forward now? Because obviously they had a good run last year. They lost in that game to Ohio State. It was a bit of a beat down to the Vols.
Yeah.
So how far do you think the Vols are now from really competing in the playoffs for that national championship? Or do you think Joey Aguilar is going to make much of a difference? I don't know how much of him you've seen. I haven't seen anything of him yet. I've looked up his stats, and before the season starts, I'll go back and watch some of his tape. And I'll do my my Spike Eskin YouTube
Yeah,
thing.
YouTube big board.
Yeah, I get a YouTube big board going. So yeah, so how do you feel just about the team go forward? Because obviously a lot of guys now have been drafted. James Pierce Jr. He's gone. So
Yeah.
how do you feel going forward into next year?
I mean, I don't think we're a playoff team this year.
Okay.
Even with Nico, if he would have came back, I still think it would have been kind of borderline being a playoff team. It was sad and it sucks that it happened because everybody had these high hopes that it was going to be Nico's second year in the system. He was going to make this big leap.
Yeah.
He was going to be better as a passer because last year it was kind of like we had to rely on the run a lot more than what we thought. And it was kind of the same thing with the Eagles. After they started out 2-2, they changed things up, started relying on Saquon more. Same thing with Tennessee. They had to start relying on Dylan Sampson more.
Mm.
And but it worked. We got to the college football playoffs, got our asses handed to us by Corey's Buckeyes,
Yeah.
but we got there. We didn't. I didn't think Tennessee would make the playoffs last year. We probably should have made it a couple of years before, but anyway, Joey Aguilar, I don't know a whole lot about. He played at Appalachia State
Yeah.
for 3-4 years, and he had just transferred to UCLA,
Yeah.
and the kid wasn't even there. I don't think he was there a month, 2 months when all the stuff with Nico developed. And unfortunately, we're in a new era of college football where this what we talked about a minute ago, NIL
Yeah.
is kind of screwing things up. Don't get me wrong, I'm all for these kids getting paid. These universities have made money hand over fist on the
Yeah.
backs of these kids. They have. These kids could not make money doing anything. But Nico was making a lot of money. Like he hadn't taken a snap as a college football player and had like an $8 million deal. You
Uh,
know, and he sat his freshman year. He had a real good bowl game his freshman year. They let him play the entire bowl game. We got our hopes up. We made the playoffs. He beat up on some fair to middling bad teams, but against teams that were 500 or better, that's when he looked like a mid-level quarterback. Kid's got a great arm.
yeah. Yeah.
But we were really hoping for a big jump in season two, and unfortunately, money and stupid decisions got in the way. It sucks because the kid wound up losing money. UCLA, they're one of the worst NIL teams in college sports. Like
Mm.
they really have no NIL.
Yeah.
Like, okay, Ohio State, I'm pretty sure there's word out there that they spent 20-25 million dollars on their football team last year.
Yeah.
Texas this year, there's word out that they're probably going to have $30 million in their football team. So going forward, like I don't Tennessee's definitely not a playoff team this year. I think if they win eight games with Joey Aguilar coming in as late as he did, I think that would be a huge accomplishment in my
Yeah.
opinion.
Yeah.
Uh, he's a bit of a gunslinger type of
Mm.
quarterback. He's going to risk it to try to make something happen, and they they're trying all these new laws to try to limit what you can and cannot spend in NIL. And the thing about it is they have to get something together because you cannot tell someone how much money they can and cannot make. It is a free world, free market. If I have, say, this hat, for instance, I put it on eBay for $500 and you look at it and you say, "Oh, I like that hat. I think it's worth." Who's to tell you that your $500 you shouldn't spend it for this hat?
Yeah.
Yeah, it'd be ridiculous, but it's your money, and
Yeah.
it would be me making money. I'm just making money.
Yeah.
Uh, but NIL, I don't want. I want these kids to get whatever they can because a lot of times you see these guys suffer. They're okay. Receiver Brew McCoy for Tennessee had a horrific leg injury, not last year, but the year before last. He came back last year. it really hurt him, and he's done. He didn't get drafted in the draft. I was hoping he'd be able to sign as a free agent with somebody and maybe become a tight end,
Yeah.
but a month or so ago, he's like, my time as a football player's come to an end, and he had
Yeah.
a horrific leg injury. But he
Yeah.
came back and he played this year. He made some big catches for
Mm.
Tennessee. But yeah, I want to see these kids make everything they can, but you cannot after the college football playoff, if Nico was going to leave, he should have done it before the playoffs. And he came to Tennessee supposedly before the game, wanting more money, and they done something and they worked it around, gave him a little more money, and then supposedly his family got involved, and his
Yeah.
dad said, you need to do this, you need to do that, and it just went south from there. And unfortunately, Nico lost money because of it. We lost our starting quarterback, but you know, it is what it is. I think we've got some good recruits up and coming. And as far as playoffs go, like Tennessee is an old story traditional program. The SEC conference was founded in Knoxville, Tennessee. If anybody goes to downtown Knoxville, there's a hotel in the old city and downtown area. Very nice part of the city. A lot of restaurants and things down there. There's a plaque outside a hotel. It says the SEC conference was founded here in 19 whatever, you know. And
Wow.
so Tennessee is a huge part of the SEC. But I think, like, okay, every 5 years, Tennessee hopefully will make the playoffs 2 out of every 5 years, in my
Mm.
opinion, maybe 3 out of every 5 years, because we do have a great NIL situation. I don't think
Mm.
Tennessee will ever spend 20, 30 million on football, but
Yeah.
hell, we paid $4 million for a basketball player this year, a true freshman, Nate Mint. All right, I'm Owen. Owen gets pissed at me, but I give our basketball coach Rick Barnes hell, and I do it mainly because it pisses Owen off because Owen loves him so much, and he's my kid. And Dad's, you'll see one day with Eddie. If you see something you can get over on your kid to piss them off, to get them mad a little bit, and it's fun.
Oh,
It is. I can't
I've,
help it.
he's 3 years old, and I've already started doing that to him because
There,
he's in his toddler tantrum stage, and he's
yeah.
just, yeah. If I can get one up on him, I'm taking it.
There you go. So that's what I do with Owen. Owen loves Rick Barnes, and I'll be honest. Bruce Pearl started the fire with Tennessee basketball, and then he got fired for some inappropriate recruiting things that he done.
Mm.
And then we had another coach, and then we got Rick Barnes, and Rick Barnes has really taken the basketball program to heights that I had never seen.
Yeah.
But they went head to head with Duke for a basketball player, and we won. Like Duke won. This kid's name is Nate Mint. He's like 6'9", 6'10", kind of a Kevin Durant type player.
Mm.
But $4 million, I would have never dreamed Tennessee would pay $4 million for a basketball player. Never. But they did. And this kid's probably a one and done type of kid. Going to be a
Yeah.
first round pick in the NBA next year. God forbid any injuries, anything like that. So I mean, Tennessee, we like to say we're an everything school. And like if you look, we went to the tournament in football, won the College World Series last year. We're in the Super Regionals, 5th year in a row. That's never been done. Lady Vols are back on the uptick in basketball. I think they made the Sweet 16 this year.
Yeah.
They killing it in recruiting, as far as I know. Basketball, like I said, Lady Vols softball just made they just exited, got beat by the champions of the College World Series, Texas,
Yeah.
and we were national champions in cornhole a few years ago. We're an everything school, dude.
You really are
But
in everything school. Yeah. I
yeah,
didn't even
I
know
mean,
cornhole was a like a
it's
full time sport. I thought it was just a.
it's not a scholarship thing. I think but they were selling T-shirts at Alumni Hall, and it's like 3-4 years ago. Cornhole national champions,
Wow.
But anyway, the what was it? They had somebody with diving and track and field and like they're really killing it. And our athletic director Danny White, I like to give him hell on Twitter because of what he's done to Lindsey Nelson Stadium, like taking the
Mm.
the students away from the action.
Yeah.
But he says it himself. We're an everything school. We compete in everything, and you know we got a national championship in baseball last year. Hopefully, we can go back to back this year for the first time since South Carolina did it.
Yeah. Yeah. Here's hoping. I mean, that you know what I mean. Like from what I've seen this year, this Vols team is just like, yeah, like you said, they're stacked, they're loaded. You know what I mean? Their
Yeah.
guys are just fully committed to each other. You know what I mean? The head coach is an animal in his own right. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I think that's like, bled down to the rest of the guys, and they're willing to just go out there and sacrifice everything to
Yeah.
make plays and pitch like psychopaths like Liam Doyle and so Marcus Phillip, he's got a big job tonight against in game one. It's going to be a big challenge for him, but he
Yeah.
knows, so he knows what's coming. He's going to be well prepared. It's going to be a great game, and hopefully we can get game one now and set it up for Liam Doyle to end it. I think we'll leave it there, just and this is
1 second. Give me 1 second. I want to show you something. I know this is dead air. I'm sorry. I meant to do this earlier. I forgot. Let everybody know. Got to show them.
What we got?
Just got this for the fan cave.
Wow! Look at that! Oh my God! That is awesome.
Hopefully I can get one next year that says back to back.
Back to back, yeah, 2025. Well, everyone, I think that's a perfect way to end the show. So as you can see, Big J, he's fired up, he's ready to go tonight, and I hope everyone can find some time today in between, getting ready for the game to watch or listen to the pod. So thank you everyone for tuning in and giving us any small amount of support. We really appreciate it. So yeah, like, follow, and subscribe, and big game tonight, big series ahead. The psychopath, he's ready to go again. I think he would pitch tonight if he had his way. But Marco Phillips is on the mound, and we trust.
Yes, sir.
We trust him 23. So let's go everyone. Go Vols.
Go Vols. Rocky Top. You'll always be home sweet home to me. Love y'all, man.